Have you ever accepted a gift? Maybe a nice meal or even just a drink from someone and felt this sudden, totally unexplained heaviness.
Mm.
Or maybe you have that one shirt in the back of your closet that you never wear it because it feels like bad luck, like the day is just bound to go sideways.
It's a feeling a lot of people know, but, we don't really have the words for it. It's that gut feeling that an object, something physical, is carrying this invisible emotional weight.
Right. And we usually just brush it off. We tell ourselves, oh, I'm just tired, or, this shirt just doesn't fit right anymore. We find a rational reason.
Hmm.
But today, we're diving into a source that says, no, you're not imagining it. And it might be much more intentional and, frankly, much darker than you think.
Today we're doing a deep dive into a text called Complex PTSD, Imprinting, and Spiritual Warfare. It was published pretty recently, October 2025, by Kandayia Ali, who also goes by Ayamamni.
And I think we need to set the expectation right out of the gate here. This is not your standard self-help book. This isn't about, tidying up to spark joy. This is intense.
It is.
It explores this perspective that is, it's terrifying but also fascinating. The idea that everyday items like food, money, even your clothes, can be weaponized as conduits for trauma. The author calls it spiritual imprinting.
And before we even start unpacking all the mechanisms, we really need to set the stage for you about the source material. This comes from a perspective of lived experience. The author is writing very specifically about ritualistic abuse and manipulation.
Which means we have some pretty serious warnings to cover,
Yeah.
right? Because this isn't light stuff.
We do, and this is crucial for you, the listener, to know before we go any further. The author includes very specific, very heavy trigger warnings. This content addresses human trafficking, sex trafficking, systemic exploitation. It references psychological, spiritual, and physical abuse. The author's stated goal is to, and I'm quoting here, reveal the unseen mechanisms of exploitation. So seriously, if you need to pause or step away at any point, please do.
Absolutely. And, to be clear on the intent here, the source is also very explicit that this is not about condemning any specific race or religion or culture.
Correct. The author frames this as exposing patterns of control, patterns that can exist in any system. So even though the language might sound, esoteric, we're going to talk about chaos magic or energy siphoning, the behavior underneath it all is about domination.
The theft of autonomy.
Exactly.
Okay. So the mission for this deep dive is to explore this hidden life of objects. We're going to look at how Ali argues that trauma isn't just in your head, but it gets anchored into the physical world around you.
It's the whole philosophy of imprinting. The core mechanism Ali describes is that these deeply traumatic events, the things that lead to complex PTSD, they aren't just fleeting moments. They get anchored spiritually through physical objects. Yeah, it's about taking an internal state, like fear or pain, and locking it into something tangible, something you can touch or taste.
So let's start with the most basic thing, consumption, food. In this framework, how does a simple dinner become a weapon?
Well, the key concept here, according to Ali, is this twist on the old saying. It's not just you are what you consume, it's you are what you consume, but also what's charged into it.
Charged into it. What, like the chef's mood? If someone is having a bad day, the soup tastes sad.
In a way, yeah, but much more deliberate, much more malicious. The text talks about poisoning through intention. This isn't literal poison.
Right.
It's the idea that food prepared with, say, deep envy or resentment or a desire for control, it actually binds the person who eats it. The argument is that food is an energy transfer.
It reminds me of that old saying, don't cook when you're angry.
Yeah.
But this is taking it to a whole other level. This is weaponized cooking.
It's precisely that. And the source also details this psychological tool called false hospitality. So think about an abuser using this huge, elaborate meal to create guilt.
Oh, yeah. I spent all day making this for you. How can you be so ungrateful? That kind of thing.
Exactly that. How can you leave me after I fed you? It creates a debt.
The guilt sandwich.
Yeah.
You're literally swallowing your own obligation.
That's a perfect way to put it. And Ali points to some really specific ritual symbolism here, too, like using cakes or meat that are presented specifically after a huge argument.
Wait, but isn't that usually a peace offering? I'm sorry, here's a steak.
On the surface, yes. But in this context, it's described as a forgiveness binding. Your cortisol is spiked, you're in a trauma state, and suddenly you're being fed something heavy and sweet. It creates this deep physiological confusion.
It's like you're gaslighting your digestive system.
Your body is trying to accept nourishment while your mind is screaming danger. And the impact, according to the text, is emotional entrapment, and actual digestive issues because you are swallowing the conflict.
Okay, so that's food. What about drink? The source calls liquid the carrier. Why is that different?
The argument is that fluids are highly programmable. Liquid is the carrier emotionally and spiritually. Ali talks about the strategic use of alcohol or tea during these trauma moments.
Which makes sense, right? I mean, alcohol lowers your defenses, makes you more suggestible.
Exactly. It creates a fog or a weakened will. But then the text goes deeper into the spiritual side. It talks about blessed drinks, and not blessed in a good way.
So like whispering a curse into a cup of tea, or an intention for that person to be more submissive.
Essentially, yes. Spells or affirmations spoken over drinks before they're served, or even transferring what the author calls energetic residue just by sharing a cup.
It creates a pathway, a direct line.
And the result is you become more susceptible to the imprinting. You're foggy, you're open, and you are literally drinking down their control. It creates a state of compliance.
Okay, we're moving from what goes in the body to something even more personal. The source has a section on bodily fluids. And I have to say, reading this part, it gets incredibly dark.
It's the most intense category in the text, without a doubt. The quote that just anchors this whole section is, "Fluids are signatures. Where they go, your code follows."
Your code follows. That sounds like something from a sci-fi movie, but it feels so primal here. Like they're talking about DNA as a spiritual marker.
That is exactly the implication. Ali asserts that in these abusive systems, sexual abuse is used for more than just physical power. It's used to energetically program the victim. The text explicitly mentions orgasm and fluid exchange being used to lock in trauma at a cellular level.
Wow. And it lists some very specific fluids too. Blood, saliva.
Yes, blood, even from, an accidental cut. And saliva is a big one. The text mentions saliva being used in spells, often during really heated arguments.
It's spitting.
Spitting, or even just the projection of saliva from screaming at someone up close. Ali calls them ritual seals.
That's horrifying.
Hmm.
It changes how you see a screaming match. It suggests it's not just anger, it's an attempt to mark you, to put their signature on you.
And the impact described is chronic soul fragmentation. The trauma loops get anchored in the body, specifically in the reproductive centers, making it almost impossible for the victim to feel whole again.
Let's shift a little bit, still on the body, but external. Clothing. The source calls clothing a spiritual leash.
What you wear becomes your second skin. That's the key concept.
I found this part fascinating because clothes are so tied to our identity. You control what someone wears, you control how they see themselves. What kind of methods does it describe?
Well, think about gifts again. We talked about food gifts. Now it's what you wear. The source talks about gifting clothes that have energetic hooks, specifically clothes from, say, a narcissistic family member or a handler.
So your mom buys you a dress, but it's not your style at all. She wants you to be this certain version of yourself, maybe younger, more obedient.
Precisely. And every time you wear it, you feel that weight. You feel her expectation, her control. It dissociates you from your own self-image. But there's another method, too, involving reusing clothes worn during a traumatic event.
Oh, like forcing someone to wear the same shirt they wore during a really bad incident?
Yes, to keep the imprint active. It drags the body's memory right back to that moment. The fabric feels the same, so the fear feels the same. It keeps you dressed in your past.
There was also something about washing rituals that seemed unbelievably invasive.
Yeah, this was wild. Washing or burning rituals done in secret with the victim's clothes. So the abuser might take something of yours, do something to it, wash it with a specific intention, or even burn it without your knowledge. It's a kind of remote control.
It's almost voodoo-esque. It says, I own your image, I own your skin.
And the impact is manipulation through your own wardrobe. You literally aren't comfortable in your own clothes anymore.
Okay, let's step outside the body now, into the world of value, money.
The currency of control.
The source says currency holds intention.
We hear this in positive manifestation circles all the time, right? Money is energy. But Ali flips that. The text describes how abusers gift money to create soul-binding obligations.
The strings attached. But these sound like really heavy strings.
They're not just social strings. They're framed as spiritual strings. The text warns about money given during high-stress times, funerals, medical bills, a crisis.
When you're vulnerable, when you're desperate.
Exactly. If an abuser pays for a funeral, they're binding their energy to your survival. You feel like you owe them your life, not just the money. It's a psychological debt that feels impossible to repay.
It's the ultimate leverage.
It is. And there was also that part about cursed cash.
Yeah, what was that about? It sounds like pirate treasure.
Hey, it's the idea of ritualists actually anointing money before giving it to someone who is an empath or is spiritually open. It's a Trojan horse. You take the cash because you need it, but it comes loaded with a negative attachment.
Which would lead to feeling guilty when you receive money or just being terrified of financial autonomy.
Yeah.
The whole idea of money feels dangerous.
Right. It anchors CPTSD to your bank account. Every transaction carries the weight of that trauma.
Speaking of Trojan horses, we have to talk about the section on close ones. This is, I think, the most heartbreaking part of this.
It is. The quote is, "If the hand is familiar, the pain goes deeper."
It talks about betrayal, but it gets very specific about who is doing the betraying.
It covers the love bombing and betrayal cycle as a form of imprinting, but it also introduces this really terrifying concept, the unwitting vessel.
The idea that your friends or family could be used against you without even knowing it.
Yes. Ali claims people can be used to relay negative attachments. So someone you trust, a best friend, could walk into your home carrying the abuser's energy just because they haven't shielded themselves. They might deliver a message, a gift, just bad vibes, acting as a relay tower.
And because you trust them, you let your guard down.
That's the consent bypass. You think, oh, they mean well, or it's family, and you drop your spiritual defenses, you open the door, and that's exactly when the imprint lands.
That is. I mean, it's paranoia-inducing, honestly. It would make you question every single interaction.
It describes a state of hypervigilance, which is a hallmark of CPTSD. If you can't trust the familiar hand, you can't trust anyone. It isolates you completely.
So we've gone through food, drink, fluids, clothes, money, people. It feels like absolutely everything in your life is a potential minefield.
That's the point.
So how does Ali bring this all together? What's the grand mechanism behind this?
Well, the analysis in the text is that these are not random events. These tools are used in repeated, emotionally charged environments. The repetition is the key. It's conditioning.
Like Pavlov's dogs.
Exactly like Pavlov, but for trauma. The goal is to embed contracts without consent and to anchor fear and shame into just normal everyday actions. So eating isn't just eating, it's anxiety. Getting dressed is dissociation.
It completely rewires your reality.
It locks you in a cage that's made of perfectly normal things. It makes the world unsafe, so the only safe place, ironically, is under the abuser's control.
Okay, that is incredibly heavy. And I think we promised we wouldn't just leave our listeners sitting in the dark with this. Thankfully, the source provides a section on the cure, on how to break these imprints.
Yes, Ali calls it shielding or breaking the rituals. It's all about reclaiming your agency.
So what's the first step? How do you fight something that's attached to a physical object?
Reversal declarations. It relies on the power of your own words. The text provides a script, which is basically about fighting intention with intention.
Whatever was spoken, sealed, or sent into this item, I now revoke.
This belongs only to the light, and I break every tether. It's about verbally overriding the old intention. You're telling the object and your own subconscious, I own this now.
And then there's elemental cleansing. This feels very practical, almost like a counter ritual.
It is. It uses the elements to strip the energy. For fire, Ali suggests burning old clothes from those trauma times.
A literal release, watching it turn to ash.
Exactly. For water, bathing items, or yourself, in salt water or moon water. Salt is a classic purifier in almost every culture on Earth.
And smoke.
Smoke is a huge one. The text lists rosemary, myrrh, rue, palo santo, sage. Using a smoke to clear the air, clear the object.
And finally, sound.
Yeah, using chimes or bells or even just your own voice to literally shake the imprints free.
Yeah.
Breaking up stagnant energy with vibration.
It sounds like literally shaking the dust off of something.
Precisely. And the text also mentions using prayer scripts and return to self tools. It all comes back to reclaiming your own spiritual authority.
Which is the direct antidote to the domination we were talking about. If the poison is losing your autonomy, the cure is to aggressively take it back.
That's the critical takeaway, I think.
So, to recap this journey, we've explored a worldview where really nothing is neutral. Food, drink, money, clothes, they can all be charged with intention.
And specifically charged to anchor trauma and complex PTSD into your life.
Now, I know for some of you listening, this all might sound very spiritual, and for others, chaos magic might sound like complete nonsense. But I really think there is a takeaway here for everyone, regardless of your belief system.
Absolutely. Even if you don't believe in spells, the psychological pattern of anchoring is very real. That's just neuroscience. Our brains attach emotions to physical things. If you put on the coat you were wearing when you got assaulted, you will likely feel that same fear.
Right. The object becomes a trigger.
Exactly. And just understanding that connection gives you the power to break it. You can choose to get rid of that coat. You can choose to cook your own meal with love instead of eating the guilt sandwich someone else serves you.
Awareness is the first step.
You
You can't fight a ghost you can't see.
And you can't heal a wound you don't acknowledge is there.
Before we go, I want to leave you with a final thought, something from the clothing section that really stuck with me. Ali calls clothing a second skin.
And a potential leash.
Right. So here's the question for you to mull over. If our clothes can hold intentions, what intentions are you currently wearing?
And maybe, is it time for a literal and a spiritual wardrobe cleanse?
Something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Stay safe out there.